CineStill 800T is an incredibly fun and aesthetic film stock to use. So today I wanted to review this motion picture based film and talk about why I love it for still photography. So as I was getting back into film photography, I was seeing pictures online of people using CineStill 800T to take these awesome looking photos with these great colors and these halations. I'll talk a little bit more about what that's caused by. So as soon as I got my Leica M6, which by the way I'll be reviewing pretty soon, I got CineStill 800T and started taking photos with it. It was the first film stock that I used in this camera successfully. I was really excited to see if it would hold up to the hype that I had built up around it or if it would actually just be something disappointing. Hint though, I was not disappointed. The first time that I ended up using CineStill 800T was on a trip with two of my friends to the Reading Pagoda in Pennsylvania. We got there as the sun was setting, so there wasn't that much light except for the artificial light coming from the pagoda itself, which was this awesome neon red light. With the ISO of 800, I was able to capture really cool pictures with this, and most of them were just silhouettes, but I was still able to capture some detail of the people themselves. Now for a couple of these pictures, you'll see that I did have light leaks that appeared on them. This was actually because I opened up my camera in a rush, thinking that I had already rolled up my entire roll of film when I was preparing for a wedding photo shoot. While I did lose some images from this trip, I think that these actually turned out really awesome. So I ended up using two more rolls of CineStill so far, and one I used around the DC area and another at a friend's birthday party. And I kind of want to go over the different features and things that I noticed about the film. So the first thing I want to talk about is skin tones. So overall I noticed that across the different photos that I took, the skin tones tended to be a little bit lighter than what it actually was. So this is just something to account for when you're taking photos. You probably just need to expose a little bit better for the actual skin tones, if that's something that you're worried about. Now I will say though that the skin does look really great and the skin does look soft, so I do like that effect. Now in terms of sharpness, the film is pretty sharp, and part of this is attributed to the actual film grain itself. Overall, I noticed that it was pretty fine film grain. There are a couple shots that I had that were randomly more grainy than others. I think that this actually ends up depending on the lighting of the situation. At least that was my takeaway from looking at my photos. Maybe there's actually some sort of reason for this that I just am not aware of. Because that film grain is pretty fine, it does lead to sharper images overall. As you may have noticed with these images, where there are lights, there tends to be these things called halations, which you can see right here and in these sample photos. So it looks like this orange reddish glow around lights that are visible to the film. It doesn't happen with every shot, but it tends to happen. Essentially, these are caused by the removal of a layer on film called the remjet, or removable jet black layer. So the purpose of this layer is actually anti-halation and anti-static. Anti-static doesn't matter, that was relevant for motion picture film where the film is moving really fast, but the anti-halation part here, because that layer is removed from this film, it causes these halations. Alright, quick little interjection. I explained this so badly in the actual video, but essentially that remjet layer absorbs the light instead of letting it bounce back and hitting the emulsion layers, so this stops those halations from occurring. Back to the video. Now, I actually really like the look of this. I know that not everyone does, but I think it adds some character to photos. When I'm actually taking pictures, I actually think about, oh, okay, where are these lights in my images, and how can I make them add some sort of character without actually removing anything from the picture. Now, an added benefit of removing the remjet layer is that now you can actually process this film using the C41 process. I'll be talking more about processing in another video though. Now, the last thing I really want to talk about is the color temperature of this film. The T in CineStill 800T stands for tungsten. So if you look at a color temperature graph, you'll see that tungsten tends to be around 2900 to 3200 Kelvin. Tungsten tends to be on the warmer side of photography, so because of this you should expect your images to have a warmer glow to it. This is actually really helpful for night photography because everything tends to be more of a blue light at that point and you don't have that warm light of the sun, which is actually why I think Some of the images I took I don't like because I took them in daylight. So all of this brings me to my last point, which is in which situations would I use this film? I personally think that this film looks amazing when you are using it where you don't have a ton of sunlight. Whether that means indoors, in the shade, or night in general where you have artificial lighting, I think that it performs amazingly there. But for me, I don't think I liked how it looked when there was a lot of sunlight. I think it removed a lot of the contrast that you get with this film and overall just washed out a lot of the colors that you can get from this film. So now I want to talk about my final thoughts of CineStill 800T. To me, it's really exciting and fun to use, and I really enjoy the rendering of the colors and the film grain, and we can't forget to mention the halations that show up in the pictures. Like I said, it adds this dynamic to the photo taking process for me, where I just have to consider where am I putting these lights so that there's a balance of the halations to the actual subject that I'm trying to capture. It might not be for everyone, to be honest, but if you're even slightly interested, I would say that it's at least worth trying out. I'm going to keep shooting this film, but I will have to say that availability is a little bit spotty. You can find it on websites like B&H right now, but it's not always there, and honestly, for $15 for a roll of 36 images, it's not exactly the most affordable roll of film that you can get. You also have to add on the fact that if it's not available on any regular retailer website, you might have to pay extra to be able to get it, and then you have to pay for the development of the film, which is an additional $12 to $15. So at that point, you're probably spending somewhere between $25 to $35 per roll of film to both get the film and get it developed. I don't say this to discourage anyone from actually getting this film and taking photos with it, because I do think it's amazing and a lot of fun, but I do want that disclosure to be there if that's something that you're worried about. And that's about it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and this review and take on my picture journey with CineStill 800T. If there's anything that you'd like to see taken pictures of with it, or if there are any questions that you have in regards to it, or any comments that you have in general, definitely let me know down in the comments below. And if there's anything you think that I should have talked about it or that isn't really necessary information, just any improvements in general to the video that I could make, definitely let me know, because I'm always trying to improve on these videos with each one that I make. Thank you for watching. Definitely subscribe if you want to see more of this stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.